explored a lot of AI risks, from economic disruption to the loss of privacy
Yeah.
to, the potential for AI to spiral out of control.
Right.
It's a lot, but I'm ready to move on to solutions now.
Okay.
The article does offer some hope, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The authors emphasize that we're not just along for the ride.
Right.
We can make choices, and we have the power to shape where this technology goes.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Good. So where do we begin? What are the first steps to reduce these risks and steer AI in a better direction?
Yeah, what do we do?
Well, the article talks about several key areas for action, but I think the most important one is education
Okay.
and awareness. We need to demystify AI and help people understand how it works and how it's already affecting their lives.
I think a lot of people hear artificial intelligence and they just tune out.
Yeah.
It sounds so complicated and abstract. How do we make it relevant to everyday people?
I think storytelling is key.
Okay.
We need to connect AI to people's experiences, show how it's already part of their lives. Think about personalized recommendations on streaming services or how navigation apps help us get around.
Right.
Those are all powered by AI.
So showing people that AI isn't some far-off thing, it's here, it's now.
Exactly, and once people get that, they're more likely to want to be part of the conversation. We need everyone at the table, not just the tech experts, to have a say in how this develops.
So education is the foundation, but what about concrete action?
Right.
The article talks about regulation and oversight. What would that look like?
Think of it like setting traffic laws for AI.
Yeah.
We need clear rules to make sure these systems are developed and used safely and ethically.
So like guidelines for data privacy transparency about how algorithms work.
Exactly.
Even like kill switches for autonomous systems.
Yeah, those are all good examples. And it's not just about avoiding the worst case scenarios. It's about making sure AI benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Right, which brings up a really important question. Who gets to decide how AI is used?
Yeah.
Who benefits? Who might get left behind?
These are big questions we need to work through together.
Yeah.
And it requires a lot of different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Ethicists, social scientists, legal experts.
Right.
Even artists and philosophers need to weigh in. This isn't just a technology problem, it's a societal problem.
So it's about making sure that AI reflects our values as humans.
Yeah, exactly. Things like fairness and accountability and compassion.
We can't just trust these algorithms to make decisions that affect our lives.
Right. We need human oversight, human judgment, and a constant evaluation of how we're interacting with this technology.
Okay, so we've got regulations, we've got education. We need diverse voices at the table.
Yeah.
What else can we do to make sure AI is a force for good?
Well, the article also talks about the importance of ethical guidelines for people developing AI. A code of conduct, a set of principles that prioritize human well-being.
It's like the Hippocratic Oath for the AI age.
Exactly. First do no harm.
Right.
It's about making sure AI enhances our lives, not makes them worse. And that takes ongoing conversation and collaboration between the people developing it and the researchers and the ethicists.
So it's not about stopping progress or saying AI is bad. It's about being thoughtful and careful and proactive.
Exactly. AI has amazing potential to solve some of the world's biggest problems.
Yeah.
But we have to be aware of its limitations and its biases and the ways it could be misused.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the scariest AI dangers to the hopeful solutions.
Yeah.
What's the main thing you want listeners to take away from all this?
I think the most important message is that the future of AI is not set in stone.
Okay.
It's not this unstoppable force. We have the power to shape it.
Right.
And the decisions we make today will determine what that future looks like.
That's a good point. It reminds us that we all have a role to play in this, whether we're tech experts or just everyday people.
Exactly. Stay informed, stay involved, and don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. The future of AI is in our hands.
It's interesting how the article talks about AI being both a potential solution and a potential problem for some of the biggest challenges we're facing.
Right, like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It's like this amazing tool that could revolutionize healthcare and, help us fight climate change and personalize education in ways we can't even imagine yet.
Right.
But then there's also the risk of job displacement and the erosion of privacy and even AI systems becoming so complex that we can't control them anymore.
It's almost like AI is holding up a mirror to us, showing us both our brilliance and our deepest fears about the future.
I like that. And it shows why it's so important to talk about these things now, before AI becomes so ingrained in our lives that we can't change course.
So let's talk about how we can shape that future. We've touched on regulation, ethical guidelines, education, and the need for diverse perspectives.
Right.
But are there any real-world examples of these ideas being put into practice?
Oh, absolutely. There's a growing movement all over the world focused on developing AI responsibly. For example, the European Union is working on these really comprehensive AI regulations that put human oversight and transparency first.
Yeah.
And here in the US, there are organizations like the Partnership on AI that are bringing together tech companies and researchers and advocacy groups to come up with ethical guidelines for AI development.
So it sounds like people are starting to realize that we can't just let AI develop on its own.
Yeah.
We have to be actively involved in steering it in the right direction.
Exactly. And it's not just about top-down regulation or industry guidelines. It's about creating a culture of responsible AI development where ethical considerations are part of every step of the process.
Right, so from data collection to algorithm design to actually using these systems in the real world.
Exactly. It's not just about telling developers, don't do this or don't do that. It's about giving them the tools and the frameworks to build AI systems that are aligned with human values right from the start.
So it's a fundamental shift in thinking.
Yeah.
Recognizing that AI isn't just a technical challenge, it's a human one.
Right. We need to bring our values, our ethics, and our empathy into the conversation about AI development.
I think that's a really important point. You know, we often talk about AI as if it's separate from us, but it's really a reflection of who we are as a society. The biases we see in AI systems often reflect our own biases, and the choices we make about how AI is used are ultimately choices about what kind of future we want.
That's so well said, and it makes me think about something the article brings up towards the end.
Perfect.
A concern that's a little different from the existential threats we were talking about before. It's the idea that relying too much on AI could actually make us less capable as humans.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean by that? We're talking about becoming so lazy and dependent on AI that we forget how to think for ourselves?
It's not that simple, but the article does raise the question of whether over-reliance on AI in certain fields like healthcare could lead to a decline in human skills,
Okay.
like critical thinking and problem solving and even empathy.
So it's not just about AI taking our jobs, it's about AI potentially changing who we are.
Exactly, and it highlights the need for balance. AI can be an amazing force for good, but we have to be aware of the potential downsides if we're not careful.
It's like any powerful tool, right? Used wisely, it can make our lives better. Used carelessly, it can have unintended consequences.
That's a great way to put it, and I think that's a perfect place to wrap up.
Yeah.
AI is this powerful force with the potential to change our world in both good and bad ways. The future of AI isn't predetermined. It's up to us to shape it wisely and responsibly.
I think that's a great message for our listeners to take away from this conversation.
Yeah.
Stay informed, stay engaged, and don't be afraid to ask tough questions about the role of AI in our lives.
Right.
The future is in our hands. And to our listeners, as always, we encourage you to check out the show notes for links to the article and other resources so you can explore these ideas further. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and stay curious.